My name's Jonathan Payne. I'm from the UK. I grew up in Cambridge and I now live in London. Uh, I lived in Mexico for 4 years, working as a teacher at an international school there. So that's how I first got to know about Day of the Dead. And I'm now a teacher still in the UK. My understanding is that Day of the Dead is a celebration in which families get together to remember members of the family who have died, and that it is a time of, it's not a time to be sad and to think like, oh, we missed them so much, but it's a time to kind of celebrate that they lived, I guess. And so Mexicans have parties, and there's lots of symbolism of like the dead coming back to join the party. And so there are things like the music that is played is supposed to, so the people who are coming back from the land kind of beyond can hear the music, and that guides them to the party. And you leave the flower petals there on the, like, as a trail for them to follow. And you have an altar with a shrine, and you have pictures, and you put things that they liked when they were alive. So if their favorite chocolate was a Milky Way, then you put a Milky Way there as like saying, this is for you, for your favorite stuff is here, so come and join the party, and kind of bring it in. And something I really like about it is that it's like, at least as far as I understand, it's like a mixture of pre-Hispanic and post-colonial elements of Mexican society, because there was like pre-Hispanic and Mayan festivals of the dead, but that then got kind of connected with and like joined in with like All Hallows Eve and the Christian idea of like Halloween a little bit. And so then the colonists sort of like took it to be like, yeah, this is a normal thing for us as well, like you can keep doing this. And so that's a nice way in which it kind of captures slightly those two aspects of Mexican history. And also it has like changed a lot over the years, where like in the 1920s there was that artist who popularized the like sugar skull makeup and the like painted faces. And then like gradually over the years, like different things get added in, and like even the James Bond thing where they made up a parade, and then now there's a parade most years, you know. So that's kind of, I think, most of the stuff I know about it. That like, what I think I understood more about it once I got to Mexico. I didn't really know much about it, but I kind of learned that it's actually mostly a family focused event, and it's not so much just like, oh, have a big party and everyone gets trashed, everyone dresses up. It's actually more about like family memory and that kind of thing. Okay, I guess memory, celebration, and maybe like togetherness. I feel like thanks. I feel like another really important institution in Mexico is family. And like, even with the coronavirus, AMLO did his speech where he was like, tenemos una cosa en México que nos hace muy fuerte, y con eso vamos a sobrevivir. And he said like, la familia. And he was like, yeah, because we have families, we'll all survive coronavirus. And so like, it's something that is drawn on a lot in Mexican politics, and like, but it is clearly a really strong part of Mexican identity and Mexican culture is family. And I think Day of the Dead contributes to and like draws on that a lot, definitely. And I think, so that's one important aspect of how Day of the Dead is a part of Mexican life and culture. And I think also, kind of as I've kind of alluded to, like, Day of the Dead is a time where you talk about death and you can acknowledge that people die, and you can then and also the act of remembering and being like, look, these people are still part of our lives, even though they've passed on, and they're still important to us and we still love them, makes the idea of death a bit less scary and a bit less intimidating, because it's like, well, even when I die, people will remember me and I will somehow like live on in life, in their lives. Not really. The closest thing that we have that's anything like it is Halloween, but that's only because it happens at the same time of year. And actually, the mythology of Halloween and the way that it is celebrated are just totally, they're not at all thematically, or like the ideas are totally different, because Halloween is like scaring off evil spirits and saying like, oh, don't come and bother us now that it's just because the nights are long now. Because in the UK and in most of Europe, we have much shorter days now. So the sunrise is much later and the sunset is much earlier. So it's now 7 o'clock and it's pitch black outside. And like by 6 in the evening, it's already dark. And then in December and January, as we go into the winter, it'll be like dark by like 4 or 5 p.m. So there's this idea that you're moving into this kind of time of the year that is for like the evil spirits to come out, because it's nighttime all the time. And so Halloween in the Christian idea is like scaring off evil spirits. And so the only thing that's at all similar is that like people dress up. And even that is only a modern part of Day of the Dead. So it's not really the same. So, and in Britain, I think we're very reserved about talking about sensitive stuff. So we don't really talk about death. I definitely think it did. Yeah, I think that in England, death is something that we don't really speak about directly, and we don't speak about it openly. And so we use euphemisms to talk about death. So we'll say that somebody passed away, or we'll say like he's no longer with us, and so that means like they died. But what we say it in a like soft, gentle way. And it's always treated as something like very serious and like, oh no, oh, so of course it's very serious and sad. And like, we don't really talk about death while we're alive, I think. Like until you're maybe, like if you're 90 years old, you're like, okay, I'm probably going to die soon. And you have to start thinking about it. But we don't have any vocabulary or social customs to let us express any ideas about death or any emotions about death. So whereas like Octavio Paz, I read his book, The Labyrinth of Solitude, and he talks about how Day of the Dead is like this really important part of the Mexican spirit. And he says, my memory is that he says that like by more fully embracing death as a part of life, Mexicans are like more able to enjoy their lives because they know that it's going to be over and they will move on. And so it's like, make the most of it, like live your life to the full. And so I really like that idea, and also just a more general like being okay with the idea that people will die, I guess. Yeah, no, not really. I don't think English people really know what Day of the Dead is about unless they have some connection to Mexico. Even if it's just visiting there and hearing about it, or someone who like me who's spent a lot of time in Mexico, or knowing Mexicans who tell them about it. Like without a direct connection to Mexico or Mexicans, English people don't really know about Day of the Dead. The only other time they might learn is if they take Spanish in school, and we would mostly do Castilian Spanish, and we would mostly learn about Madrid and Spain and cerveza and stuff. But then every so often your Spanish teachers will usually do something on Day of the Dead in October, November time. And they will talk about Latin American and South American Spanish and talk about Day of the Dead a bit in that kind of context. And in that case, they would probably be quite a superficial, like, they celebrate this thing and they have parties and it's to remember the dead, and like maybe that, like they paint their faces, and like that's probably kind of it. So no, there is not a lot of understanding of what Day of the Dead is really about or what it's really like in England. But I do think that it would be nice if we had more of that. But I feel like in order for us to really assimilate the ideas and the ability to talk about death and the ideas about celebrating life and stuff, it would need to be a bit more on our terms, because I don't think you'd ever get British people having a like shrine and an altar and the flowers
So
and everything.
would you
like,
set up an
I
altar?
would love. I would like to, yeah. I'm not sure if I don't know if I would do one this year, because I'm sharing my flat, and like
Right.
maybe I'll talk to my flatmate or whatever, but it's a case of needing to have a place to put it and deciding what to do about all that. And so maybe I will, like next week I have no school, I have half term. So maybe during that I will think about how I could do it and find
And
a
what would
place.
you?
Well, so I would get pictures of my grandparents who have passed away. Both my grandparents and both my grandfathers and one of my grandmothers have passed away. And my dad's mum passed away just earlier this year after I came back. And so definitely I would have pictures of them and maybe some other family friends. And I would try and put out some of the things that they liked, you know. So like my dad's mum always drank sherry. So maybe I'd put some sherry or like some chocolates or that kind of thing. It would be nice to get some of those paper decorations, you know, that they're like hanging tissue paper things where they have the designs cut in, but I don't know if I could make or get them at all here. Yeah, exactly. Like I could definitely do some improvised decorations, I think. And I have some other Mexican stuff. I'm in my bedroom now. I can see I have a Mexican flag, and I have some art that I bought in Mexico, and I have some Mexican toys like a spinning top, and I have a Mayan face mask thing from Chichen Itza, and a couple of other bits of like Mexican memorabilia. So like I could get all that together in one place as well to start things off, and then maybe try and add some more kind of Day of the Dead style stuff. Maybe marigolds, get some marigolds and have the petals. Yeah, I think it's definitely something I'll always remember about Mexico. And it's definitely like at this time of year, I will always think of it and think of the parades and think of being in school and having the Day of the Dead celebration, the Pan de Muerto and all this stuff. Um, I will always remember that really nicely. And I think definitely it has changed my perception of life and of death, life and death. So it's something that I will keep kind of close in my heart, I think, and always remember. And so I don't know if I really see it becoming a part of English culture at all, but certainly it has become a part of my life. No, that's absolutely my pleasure. It's great to see you. Great to see that you're doing some interesting projects and stuff. I'm glad you're doing well.